All right, all right. Thanks for joining me this week. We just celebrated the 250th birthday of our great nation with the oldest constitution in the world. So, really, the most wise nation also in the world. So, let's get down to the brass tacks of what we're talking about today. It's a common topic. I keep coming back to it because I need to. We're proving more and more and more that I need to come back to this. Okay, so when you're out there shopping with your VA loan, and your agent says, well, I don't know if the VA would be okay with this. Here's the thing. It's pretty easy to tell right off. 5 seconds. It takes me 5 seconds to figure out if this house is able to be loaned on with a VA loan. Number one, does the heater work? Check. Number two, does the weather stay outside? The roof, the walls, the windows, the doors? Check. Number three, do the bugs stay outside? Roof, windows, water, or roof, windows, water, and all of that stuff, keeping the bugs out? Yes. All right. Number three, are there any mice or rats in the dwelling or in the attic or in the crawl space or in the basement? That's a no. Okay, great. Now, what's the condition of the wood? Is there wood destroying pests? No. Is there fungus? No. Is there rot? No. Okay, you can get your loan. That's as easy as it is, y'all. That's as easy as it is, right? If you want to get down into like, oh, but what if the house is gross inside? Right. Okay, let's get into that. Health and safety. Is the flooring installed? Is the flooring unsoiled? And I'm not talking about a stain. I'm talking about soiled, like gross, right? Is water in the pipes? Is water out of the pipes? So you have to have drinking water and flushing water and bathing water. Check. And those water systems need to contain the water in the devices that are supposed to be contained. The sink, the tub, the toilet. Check, check, check. No leaks in the pipes. Check. All right. Flooring installed. Paint. Doors work. Bedrooms have privacy. Done. Okay. Now we just described every house, right? So what ones can't we do? We can't do the ones that are dilapidated, eaten up by wood destroying pests and organisms, and hoarded, and leaky pipes with mildew and mold all over the place, and it's unsafe to live. All right, so what if we find one of those places and we want to buy it? Well, that's where the VA Rehab loan comes in. The VA Rehab loan is a great tool to use if you can afford to use it. The only thing that makes it to where it's unaffordable is that there is no deferred payments. So if you buy a VA Rehab property that's going to take 6 months for you to do the work until you can get moved in, then you will be expected to make the payments as if you lived in it the whole time. So you get that one deferred payment like everybody. So the second month, you close in July of 2026, your first payment is September. So you skip August, right? Same with the rehab loan. Same with buying a house that's already in good shape to live in. So economically, you got to be able to afford what you're currently going to live in during the rehab and the mortgage of the home that's being rehabbed, right? Once the rehab is done, then you can move into it, and that's expected to be on the schedule of that. Now, why don't more people use renovation loans? Well, there's a piece of me that wants to build out a national business, and I probably will, where I bring in all of the contractors and I say, hey, contractors, especially with AI these days, let's make the documentation, the paperwork that you're supposed to do easier. When I do that, that's going to bring more contractors into the field. But as for now, we're stuck with the contractors that are not just good at their job, not just good at building houses, not just good at carpentry, but they're also good at paperwork, right? You know how rare that guy is? And you know how he knows that he's that rare? It's because he's the one that keeps getting all of these government bids. So that's who we're fighting against. We're fighting against the people that spend $2 million to build a toilet at the LA Park in Los Angeles, right? So the guys that can do the documentation for those kinds of jobs are also the ones that can do the documentations for the VA Rehab loan. And I know that this sounds like a barrier of entry, a higher barrier of entry, but it's just the fact of the matter. We learned in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade throughout the United States that supply and demand is a thing. So if a contractor that can do more than most contractors is in more demand, then he has the fixed amount of supply that he and his business can tend to, and he tends to charge more and just work for the highest paying client. And you do the same thing, right? Like you could go take a lower paying job, you're overqualified for it, so on and so forth, but you choose to be in the position that pays you the best. So don't think of these guys as greedy, just think of them as super capable. So now what's going to happen when I build my nationwide network, right? So let's say that usually let's say it's a $20,000 rehab budget, right? The guy that knows how to do the paperwork might charge as high as $50,000, right? So what my business would do is probably raise the price of the $20,000 guy to more like $25,000, $30,000. That's my idea, but even then it's more expensive than just buying the property and then hiring the people yourself. So don't get tricked by it. All right. The VA construction loan, same thing. You got to use those guys that can do paperwork in the right way. And also, I didn't even mention this because it's kind of rude, but most contractors, especially the ones that I know, they don't have 6 months of reserves in their business so that they can pay their guys for 6 months, so they can pay themselves for 6 months. They don't have this. And because they don't have this, they need to front load the schedule of payments, and the VA just won't. And that's for the construction and the rehab. You know, the VA as a client, as a buyer, is going to be a very responsible buyer. They're going to put together a schedule that makes sense for them. And then they're going to tell people, well, if you want your money, if you want our money, if you want the buyer's money to do this job, then you're going to get paid on that schedule. So what does that do? That takes some of the guys that are good at carpentry and paperwork and remove some of them, right? Leaving even more of a higher price guy. Right? Because how does a guy have 6 months of reserves? He's overcharged his previous clients enough that he has 6 months of future money available at all times. It's just supply and demand. It's just economy. That's how capitalism works, right? And here's the thing. Instead of complaining about it, let's just capture our lane and develop ourselves to increase our economies. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, we got our inspections done, and we are waiting to hear back from the appraiser about a condition that he might put on the appraisal. But here's the thing. In the scenario that we're talking about here, we know that the deficiency exists. We know that the deficiency does not meet the VA guidelines, right? And if you this is a person that's working with a realtor outside of my network, right? And they're working with this realtor outside of my network, and the realtor outside of the network is saying to the client, hey, we do not want to have to get this work done. Whoa, hold on, wait. We're talking about water where water's not supposed to be. We're talking about how it can affect the foundation and affect the safety of living in the home. Because what if there's mold and mildew in the crawl space or the basement or something under the house or in the attic, right? When we have leaky pipes that are not visible to the appraiser because the appraiser doesn't go in the crawl space or the attic, and this problem is in the crawl space, then we're just in bed. We're being taken for a ride. This realtor is trying to find the easiest path to their paycheck. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing to the buyer who has said, hey, I'm going to pay you a very fair amount. They're paying market price for this realtor. It's not like they said, hey, can you do this for $500? Which, by the way, good luck on finding a realtor to do that. But either way, my point is the realtor that's not in my network, if they were in my network, they wouldn't be acting like this. But because I have a friend, a family member that is in escrow with somebody already, I can't interfere with that contract. All I can do is talk in hyperbole and not specifics, right? So my point is that when you get your inspection done, if you identify that any of the things that I mentioned earlier in this video are present, or maybe even you don't know and you might want a second opinion, then all you have to do is ask the lender, hey, lender, if this exists, can I still close the loan? Am I allowed to do that work myself, or do I have to have the seller make it make sense? Now, why do the realtors and in majority of realtors want you to just wait until it's made to happen? It's because they want you to have the choice, right? They'll pose it as they want you to have the choice of having the seller do it or doing it yourself. And if you look back at one of my videos, I'm saying that when you're negotiating with the seller, don't trust the seller to do the work, right? But when we're negotiating in these terms where it's water where it's not supposed to be and it could ruin the house, we need a licensed contractor no matter what. So you can just tell the seller, this is the contractor I want you to use. This is the price. And if they don't provide that contractor's work with that price, then you can just say, hey, I'll just go find another house. Right. And hopefully in this case with a different realtor, if that ends up being the way that it goes. Right. So with one of my network agents would be great. So now I just wanted to go over, what do you do when you find yourself in a situation like this and you really don't know what to ask of the seller, right? Remember that your inspection contingency is also your investigation contingency. Note when you go into escrow, note how many days do I have to do inspections? How many days do I have to do investigations before I have to make my decision to move forward with this property or not? That time frame is the time that you have the general inspection done. And then anything that rises to the top, anything that's a big deal to you, you should have a contractor come give you a price, right? I'm not saying that you have to hire that contractor. If the work has to get done before close of escrow, then 100% you're asking the seller to do it. You make them use a contractor that you know, like, and trust, because you want to be able to hold that contractor accountable after the work is done. And just that being present alone will most often make it to where the contractor knows that and they're going to do good work from the beginning and there won't be any rework necessary, right? So let's really be smart about this. Let's get our inspections done. Let's do our investigations, which means read all of the history questions that the seller has provided in their disclosures. Let's ask follow-on questions about things that we don't understand inside the disclosures. Let's ask follow-on questions of things that we don't understand that surfaced from our inspections. Let's get professionals to come out and say, how big of a problem is this in the terms of money? How much does it cost to have a well-performing contractor take care of this work, right? So now you're working with real numbers. You're working with real solid ground. You're working from a solid position, which makes it to where you have more leverage. Always strengthen your stance. Never, ever, ever just concede. And please, 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 if you feel like your realtor is out there taking you for a ride, please give me a call. Or if you feel like you've been taken for a ride before and you don't want to be taken for a ride again, please give me a call at 760-497-9964. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to helping you, and I look forward to my network growing. All right, y'all. See you next week.